Well, welcome to this demonstration of InterAcct's kit conversion software. What we're looking at the moment is a typical main menu for InterAcct. Now, in the base software, of course, as you may know already, you've got normal sort of accounting options of debtors and creditors and stock control and purchasing, and of course all the accounting transactions associated with that, plus of course the sales and marketing system, and that's all in the base software. If the kit conversion routine does not require that you purchase the manufacturing bill of materials software, and nor does it require that you need the job costing, estimating and quotation modules. Now, quotations of course are a standard feature with the products and services invoices anyway. So it's a standalone system, the kit conversion system, and really we're not aware of too many other software packages that offer this feature. What is a kit first of all? Let's just go and select the menu first up. Look, a kit is a recipe. It's a recipe, or you might want to call it a single level bill of materials. Now that recipe is to basically can convert a series of products, being the component materials, plus possibly labour and maybe some subcontractor outwork that you have done, and also sundry costs, and maybe even the plant and equipment machine time that you use to convert these materials into a new finished product, which could be a sub-assembly. So that's what a recipe or a kit is in our terminology. And indeed you can use this kit conversion routine here in conjunction with a manufacturing system. So you might just use it to as a process to create sub-assemblies that you put back in stock that are then drawn down into a full-blown bill of materials manufacturing system at a later date. It can also be used in conjunction with jobs in terms of projects as well. So you might be having an overall project and you need to, as we say, convert a whole bunch of raw materials into something different, a finished good item, and then that can be posted automatically to the job. And so too it's integrated with the sales order entry and sales invoicing and quoting system. So if you've got a sales order for a product that you need to make or convert, if you will, that would be obviously a back order, and that can then link into a kit conversion routine as a job. So great levels of integration. The whole emphasis of this kit conversion software is speed and more importantly simplicity. It's very, very simple to set up and use. So what this video demonstration is all about is just going to lead you through now the setup process. This is the kit conversion menu we're looking at the moment. We're going to go into menu number one in a moment as well, which is obviously to show you a kit conversion job. Just before we do that, we'll work through the getting started steps. Obviously with any InterAcct system you're going to have debtors and creditors. Creditors are your suppliers of your materials, and you need to set those files up in terms of names and addresses of your suppliers. Once you've done that, and I've got some examples already set up in this demonstration, not surprisingly. Once you've done that, you need to set up your stock or inventory materials database. And once again, I've set up some examples here. I've got some aluminium products, some glass, some hardware items and so on. These are the product groups, of course. And underneath each of those, we've got as well the items that we're making. So we're actually going to make some windows, as you can see on the list here, and also some shower screens. We've got a little kit for those two things as well. Okay, so once you've set up your products database, both for your components and for the items that you're going to make or be converted into, your finished good items, then you can go on and set up your cost groups and cost items. Now this is actually taken from these cost groups from our standard job costing system. So you've got cost groups including labour. I'll just call up labour, you can see the sort of thing. And of course you can break your cost group of labour down into your different labour classes, and each of those of course can have a standard cost which is used in the costing process. You can set that up to suit yourself, note. And also things like your subcontractors. So if you're sending work out to be done outside the business by subcontractors, you can set up your different types of trades there as well to suit yourself. And if you like, you can set up a standard cost as well. Okay, so that's all part of the setup. InterAcct comes with some default values there to make the whole process a little bit quicker. You need to also set up your employees, and that may well be to have a list of employees that can be associated with production departments, who's going to do the work, who's going to do the job of converting these materials into a different product. You set that up. And also here you can see we've got a thing called indirect overhead recovery percentage. Now you can set this figure to 0 if you don't want to use overhead recovery, but basically this is going to allow you to cost into your kit the indirect costs associated with running a factory to convert these raw materials into finished goods or sub-assemblies, as the case may be. That would obviously take up such cost as your rent for the factory, or the equivalent of rent, or your power, all those sort of indirect costs associated with running a factory. So that's you work that percentage out. We can help you if you need to, and that's going to be applied to your costs if you want it. The production departments, one of the things that we want to do here is to be able to search on jobs, conversion jobs, that belong to a particular cost centre or production department, as we call it here. And each production compartment, as you can see, department can have an employee that's either the person mainly responsible for that work. Again, that's going to allow us to get job schedules, not only by department but by employee. Those schedules, by the way, are down here. We're going to come to that just in a tick. Okay, the occupational health and safety task types. Now, when you're preparing a kit, you can note the OH&S risk assessments associated with doing this conversion job, and obviously the risk control measures can be noted as well. Okay, so that's the main getting started steps. Once you've done that, we're all away ready to actually create the kit itself. So we need a library of kits, and one of the neat things about this, let's go on there, there's a search screen we can search on both the kit description and ID, or they'll give me all the kits belonging to a certain cost centre or employee. I'm just going to press enter. I've only got a couple in here. One of them is a aluminium frame shower screen, and the other one's a casement window, just as a couple of examples. If I call up the first one being the shower screen, here's the actual kit. It's actually linked to a product item with the same code, the same identification code, linked to a production department and employee. This is showing you in summary here the costs broken down by the various cost groups of labour and subbies and materials. And of course, if we want to drill down into the cost items, we've got a photo of the item we're going to make over here, which is, you can do that if you wish. These are all the cost items. You can see too we've got some nice little neat headings breaking up the cost items into the framework, the outwork, machining time, labour and delivery. You can set up those headings to suit yourself, obviously. A bit of a mixture of different product items. You can see we've got some of the products are in lineal metres, some are each, some are square metres, and you can see in terms of these ones here we've got length and width of the product being required. And in this case aluminium, another linear metre style product item. We've got machine time and labour per hour, a couple of eaches down there as well, so a real mixture. And this is showing us too, by the way, what we currently have available in our stock database, what's on stock, what's available to if we needed to make it, and here it's saying what's needed. So you can see on this first item we need 8.4 lineal metres, we've got 28 lineal metres currently in stock. It's showing us the cost of that item plus the overhead being the total cost, and by applying the normal markups it's calculating a sell price for each of the components, which, as you can see, I'll just close down this screen for a moment, you can see we've got that total sell price there as well. Now you may well have a system where there's a few options there where you might have multiple selling price levels as far as your product master file is concerned. In the sales order entry system you can have it has a standard 4 price levels. You can have any number, of course, and it even can have quantity price breaks if you want to take that software module of distribution. In the standard system it has just a list price with the ability to offer a discount on that. Okay, in setting up your kit, once you've actually got this kit set up like this, you can go straight down to number 8. You can see there copy work task or copy kit, because a work task is a kit, by the way. It's just a kit conversion work task. You can copy it. So what that means is that once you set up one kit, if you've got lots of different other products which are really just variations on a theme, maybe there's different quantities or different components slightly, you can copy one kit to another, to another, to another, and that way you can create your library of kits or bills of material, if you prefer to call them that, very, very quickly. Okay, just a couple of other menus here. Work instructions is just a free format text area. You can cut and paste into this area from outside the system, type it in of course, and that would appear on your work tickets. The OH&S implications can be linked here. In this case we've got some glass glazing work, and we've got the danger of cutting fingers. It's a heavy item, so we might need to use some sort of lifting device. So all these things can be recorded against the kit item. Any number of documents as well, and drawings which might be held on your hard disk drive somewhere, can also be linked to this kit, and as you can see, just like this, we can actually view, in this case, a photograph. Okay, so let's also print out the kit details. Now this report is the standard layout of the report, and as you'd expect, this can be personalized to suit your requirements. It's showing here just all those things that we've been looking at, a list of cost items broken up with those headings, which is quite neat, the free format work instructions here, the OH&S risk assessment at the bottom. We have got mostly quantities here, as you can see, length, width and thickness, the lead time in days to reorder that particular component is shown as well, and we've also got the cost of the item in dollar cost. Now if you didn't want to show cost, of course we can take that column off display. Alright, and that little area up here for you to write in notes as well. Just come out of that. Okay, well we're back at the kit conversion menu again. So we've set up our kits, or we've shown you how the area where you do set them up, more the point. And now all we need to do is show you the kit conversion job. So menu number 1 there, we'll go into that. It's got a search screen that comes up automatically. This allows you to see to search on any combination of these fields, which might be the dates or range of dates of where goods are required, or what's scheduled for production, what's actually commenced or for production, what's been completed. Of course we can search by cost center or department and employee as well. But we've only got a few jobs in here, so I'll just press the start button. You can see a little job schedule. We've got some shower screens, we've got the various dates for things we requested, required and scheduled. This one's actually commenced, but we haven't completed that one, as you can see. The quantities being requested, and this is showing the actual completed quantities. In this case we haven't completed the first one. We've got also a thing called batch numbers used and made. So if this is a requirement for you to actually note what raw material batches are being used in the creation of a kit, and the finished batch number, if you've got that sort of need, or serial number, you can have that little feature there. If you don't, we'll take those columns off display for you. So let's now add a new job. So I'll press the big green plus key here, or you can do the same on your keyboard, and it's brought up a list of kits. If you've got hundreds if not thousands of kitted items in your system, you'd have the search facility here to be able to search by kit ID or description or whatever. So I'm just going to select, in this case, the casement window, and it's now asking us, and the help text prompts us down the bottom too, when was this first when was it requested, but what's now being required in terms of the date. So here, well, let's just say we need it on the 19th, and when's it actually scheduled to start that work? Let's say the 16th, and I'm just pressing 16 and enter. It's defaulting to the current month and year, as you can see, and now it's just asking us for little comments if we need to add a little note of comments. I'm not going to bother with that, just pressing enter on that. And it's brought up a dialog box to say it's updating kit items. So what it's actually doing for us automatically is going back to the library of kits and copying across all the cost components to make this, in this case, a casement window. And that's now been done. Not only has it done that, it's taking us to step 1 automatically to say, well, what do we require these casement windows for? In other words, for stock or some client sales order or client job or project. Now, before we go into what's it required for, I'm just going to go back to step 2 to show you the kit items that have been copied across to this job. There's all the standard kits broken up into, in this case, the frame, the window frame, the glass being required, the fittings and the labour, etc. Okay, so that would have been set up under our standard kit. We'll come back and have a look at that in a bit more detail. So that's all now attached to this job. So step 1 is, what do we need this thing for? What do we need this casement window for? So let's just go in here, and once again we can click on the plus button or just press enter to add a new record, and it says, let's just say we need some for stock, number 2 on that list. It's saying how many do you need for stock. Let's say we need 4 for stock. but we also might need some for a client or a group of clients, if you want to have a number of clients here, in relation to a job or project that you're doing, if you have that software module of InterAcct's job costing module, or it might be you need it for a sales back order. And you might again want to be able to link back and integrate to say, here, look, what you back ordered is now got an internal job conversion job for it, and this is the due date that's going to come in that we can dispatch the job. So let's just add another one. Press the plus key. Let's say this time for a client, and it's brought up the search box so we can search on clients. I've only got a couple of clients in here, so let's just select direct imports in this example, and it's now brought up for direct imports the client a list of all the references of either sales orders or jobs that we've done for that particular client. And in this case we've got 2 existing kit conversion jobs in place for those, but let's just say it was a sales order, and it's brought up that particular sales order, and it says there's the line items of what we sold, which is this casement window. Let's select that. It says how many do we need, so we only need 1 for that sales order, and that's again now linking. So we now need a total of quantity of 5, some for stock, some for a client sales order, and you can see that total's represented up there in terms of the total requested. So that's step number 1 done. You just need to define why are we making this thing, why are we converting these raw materials into, in this case, make a casement window. If we wanted to, as I mentioned before, the kit items of components that are needed to make this frame are copied across automatically. You can go in here if you need to and vary the kit components, so you could exclude something. So if I called up, let's say, styles, you might want to exclude an item here as opposed to just delete it. So it will still show on the list but as being an excluded item. You might want to change the quantities required, or the length, or in this case, because it's a linear meter length, you might want to change the quantities, or indeed add new cost components. So you can do that, and that won't affect your library item, that's just for this particular job. Alright, so you can do little modifications to your kit. At this point, if I just pop out of this job, here's a list of jobs, come back to the menu here, what happens behind the scenes as well, part of the systems integration, is that we've updated job schedules by due commencement date has already been updated. In terms of when we're going to make things, you can see the casement window here, our job number 13 scheduled for the 16th. And it's also done exactly the same schedule, but now sorted by date, but by cost center or department, production department, and employee. So if you link an employee to a production department, like as the leading hand for that cost center, it'll allow you to search on jobs by employee, by range of dates, etc., etc. And that could be a printout that you hand to that employee, or they can just see it on the screen, of course. And of course we do update kit conversion jobs by the product that we're making. So we can go into that particular product master file, the finished good item, or the sub-assembly as it might be, and actually see what jobs are in work in progress and which ones are being completed, etc. So that's updated as well. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that we've got a bit of requirements planning here. What that allows us to do is to look at all the jobs that haven't been completed, that are in the pipeline, so to speak, and all the cost components. We can search on those, and you can see here it's showing us what's needed, all the components, including labour and machine time, so you can look at the sort of capacity planning requirements of what's needed, when are they needed by, and it's also showing here what's currently available in stock. Yeah, so not only is 57 in this case available in stock when we need 14. In the case of labour hours, it's showing you again when we need labour hours, and so it's quite a good indication of capacity planning by cost centre and by employee. Alright, so it's really quite a neat way of looking at, and this is the kit conversion software. Remember too that this whole kit conversion system, if you add it to the base software, a 5-user system with accounting, stock control, purchasing, all those normal things, GST, and a sales and marketing system, by the way. Add this kit conversion software module, the software cost for 5 users is $3,000, plus GST of course, plus support and implementation and training, but it's ridiculously inexpensive, certainly good value for money to have this wonderful system, and as you'll see in a moment when we complete the job how very simple it is. Alright, so let's go back to the kit conversion job we just added. It will always appear at the top of the list, so they sort automatically, and the most recent one, it always appears at the top of the screen. And the next thing we need to do is to say, what was the actual date we commenced work? Okay, we've got a schedule date, and now let's put in the actual date. That'll change that job schedule by commencement date automatically as well. It'll take the most recent and correct date. Now, when we put in that, what date did we actually commence the job, it's now brought up, as a result of that, a third step, step number 3, and that sits there to allow us to put in what did we make and when did we make it. So when we complete the job, all we have to do is go into step 3. Let's do that now. Put in the date we actually completed. Let's just say we completed it on the 17th. And what did we actually complete? It's defaulting to the requested quantity 5. That could vary particularly if you're doing a job where you're making something like linear meters or square meters. There may be a slight difference between what's requested and what you actually produce, and of course that will change the cost as well. Okay, a little opportunity to put in notes here if you need it. And now it's brought up the dialog box again, and it's now bringing that 5 quantity and applying it to the cost components automatically. It's now done that, and valuing the job. You can see it's showing a total value, total cost is $6,000 per each window, 1,200. What expensive window by the look of it. And that's also been applied. That's been booked into stock. See this little box down here? It's showing we've put 4 into stock at a unit cost of that. All the general ledger entries in the accounting system have all been updated automatically. You don't have to do anything, it does it for you. It's taken out. If I just come out of this area for the moment, go back to here, is when we look at the cost items now, they've all got values against them as well. So for those that are material components, they've all been drawn automatically out of stock, taken them out of stock, and of course we've added back into stock the finished good item. All that's happened automatically. The labour down here, that's gone away and updated a labour summary by the date which we completed it to show how many hours that we should have worked based on the standard cost of this kit. So it's a very neat way, and I'll show you that in a moment, very neat way of comparing what labour we should have used based on what we say we've made versus the actual labour hours. And you can see obviously how efficient your employees are, or possibly the need to amend your kit time costs so to more accurately reflect the actual time taken to produce a particular item. Okay, so that's now done. And in fact, if we look, one other thing whilst we've got this display up, you can see here there's a little column called Adjust Quantity. So this is showing you what you actually used in terms of quantities, and it might be per hour or per, in this case, per square metre or per linear metre. If you found that the actual production process used more or less of these things in terms of quantities, you can now just use that adjustment quantity to plus or minus those differences, so it will actually reflect in the true quantities being used, and of course it will adjust the cost appropriately. Now that's if that was needed, you can certainly go back and adjust your standard quantities with what was actually used. Alright, the totals are showing here. This particular casement window didn't have sundry costs and machine costs and subcontractors like our previous example, which was the shower screen, had all those sort of cost factors. Alright, so let's just go back. Oh, hang on, let's print one little thing here. Production ticket. Okay, it's now a completed job. So you might have printed this production ticket prior to actually making it, of course, and that might be going down into the factory as a sort of a work order to produce this particular item. You can see it's got a summary of why do we need the stock for clients details here. It's showing all the quantities, and by the way, there is a column here for cost dollars. If you don't want it showing on your report, of course, that can be removed for you, or you might want to have 2 reports, one with cost and one without. You can print it, email it as a PDF file, whatever. Now if we go back to our schedule, this labour summary has been updated, and that's showing us by date, by employee, what number of hours they would normally work and how many actual hours they worked. So you can see a difference. In this case they've worked 14 hours when they should have only worked 8. You might compare that with the actual wage records to see again as an indication of whether the kit estimate of hours required is actually reflected in the actual hours being worked, and then that way you can go back to your kits and vary things. Well, really, that's about it as far as kit conversions. You can see that really all we were doing under the kit conversion jobs is putting in a couple of dates, putting in how many we want and what we want them for, and everything was automatic. And all the accounting entries, the general ledger post, you can go and check here, it's all been done. Stocks records have been updated in terms of taking out the components and bringing back the finished goods. The back at the sales order, if you're making it for a sales order, that's also been updated to say what you back ordered is not only now being doesn't have a kit conversion job, excuse me, but it also now says, hey, you've made that item and it's ready for dispatch. If you're making the item for a job, for a project, and in this case a window for a particular building site maybe, when you say you're making it for a job, that's automatically the cost of this window. Once you say it's made, is automatically posted against that job cost in terms of the budget versus actual cost analysis, the total cost and cost by item. All that's updated as part of an integrated system, fully automatic. So it really doesn't require any level of special expertise. The dollar figures here, if you've got a sensitive information being shown in terms of dollars and costs and whatever, and you don't want that shown, your password security access rights for each particular user of your InterAcct system can be set up where they're restricted from view. So you can basically determine who gets to see what of this information we're showing you today. Right, now you'll probably have a few questions. By the way, there's these buttons for the manual show a little mini manual on this topic, and of course there's this video you can view inside the system as well. So we're now back at the main menu. You can see here we've got all sorts of different options. These will change depending on what software modules you've elected to purchase.